The light in the Hall of Unity was cold. It was not like the warm yellow sun of Earth or the gentle glow of a candle. It was a sharp, blue-white light that seemed to go right through a person. It made everything look clean and empty. This was the way the Galactic Coalition liked things. They did not like mess. They did not like noise. And they certainly did not like humans. David Kim stood in the center of the large, round room. He felt very small. He was a man of average height, with dark hair and simple glasses. He wore a plain black suit that looked old-fashioned compared to the clothes of the aliens around him. Above him, floating in a high circle of seats, were the leaders of the 500 strongest civilizations in the galaxy. They looked down at him like a bug they were about to step on. To his right stood J. Park. J was the captain of the human ship, the Vanguard. He was a big man with broad shoulders and a face that rarely showed emotion. He stood with his arms crossed, his hand always close to the gun at his belt. He did not trust these aliens. He did not trust the silence of this room. To David's left was Mina Choi. She was the smartest scientist Earth had sent to the stars. She was looking at a small screen in her hand, watching the numbers change. She looked nervous, but also very focused. She knew what the aliens were thinking because she had studied their biology. She knew that to them, life was a math equation. And right now, humanity was a number they wanted to delete. High Counselor Vex floated down from the high seats. He did not walk. His species did not have legs for walking in gravity. He moved with a soft humming sound, suspended by magnetic fields. He was tall and thin, with skin that looked like gray stone. His eyes were large and black, showing no feeling. "Human," Vex said. His voice was not loud, but it echoed in the room. The device on David's chest turned the alien sounds into simple English. "You have heard the judgment of the Coalition." David looked up. He did not look down at his shoes. He looked right into the black eyes of the counselor. "I have heard it," David said. His voice was calm. "But I do not accept it." A sound went through the room. It was like wind blowing through metal pipes. It was the sound of the aliens laughing. They thought David was funny. They thought a single human refusing the order of 500 worlds was a joke. "You do not have a choice," Vex said. "Your species is chaotic. You fight among yourselves. You destroy your own planet. You are a virus in a healthy body. The Coalition has decided. You must give up your ships. You must go back to your little world and stay there. You will live simply. You will not leave your solar system again. If you refuse, we will remove the infection." "Remove the infection," David repeated softly. "You mean kill us?" "It is a correction," Vex said. "For the good of the galaxy." David took a deep breath. He looked around the room at the hundreds of different alien faces. Some had 3 eyes, some had scales, some were made of gas. They were all different, but they were the same in one way. They were safe. They had conquered space a long time ago and then they had stopped fighting. They had settled into a safe, boring peace. They had forgotten what it was like to struggle. "You call us chaotic," David said, speaking to the whole room now. "You say we are dangerous because we fight. You are right. We are dangerous. But you are making a mistake." Vex moved closer. "Explain your mistake, human. You think that by taking our ships, you take our teeth," David said. "You think that if you corner us, we will roll over and die. But that is not how humans work. We spent thousands of years fighting nature. We fought the cold. We fought the dark. We fought predators with bigger teeth and stronger claws. We won because we are stubborn. We win because when we are backed into a corner, we do not get scared. We get angry. Jay Park shifted his weight. He liked hearing this. He was a soldier, and he knew that anger was a weapon. Mina looked up from her screen. She saw the heart rates of the aliens increase slightly. They were not used to being spoken to like this. Your words are empty, Vex said. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are simple rocks thrown into space. We have lasers that can split your planet in two. We have shields that you cannot scratch. What can you do? David smiled. It was a small, tired smile. We can adapt, David said. We can learn. And we can survive. Vex stared at David for a long time. The silence in the room was heavy. Finally, Vex turned back to the high circle of seats. The vote is finished, Vex announced. The human delegation has 1 standard hour to leave the station. If they are still in coalition space after that, they will be destroyed. The fleet is already moving toward your solar system, human. It is too late to beg. David nodded. He turned around. Let's go, he said to Jay and Mina. They walked out of the Hall of Unity. The doors closed behind them with a heavy thud. As soon as they were in the hallway, Jay Park spoke. Did you really think they would listen? Jay asked. His voice was rough. No, David said. I knew they wouldn't. They are too arrogant. They think they know everything. They are going to attack Earth, Mina said. Her voice was shaking a little. The sensors on my ship picked up a massive energy signature near the edge of the system. It's not just a fleet, Jay. It's a grand armada. Thousands of ships. David stopped walking. He looked out of a large window. Outside, he could see the stars. Somewhere, far away, was a small blue dot. That was home. They think we are weak, David said. They think we are just another primitive species to be wiped out. But they forgot one thing. What thing? Jay asked. David turned to look at his friends. They forgot that we are the species that survived the Ice Age with nothing but sharp sticks and fire. They just started a war with the only species in the galaxy that actually enjoys a fight. They walked quickly to the docking bay where the Vanguard was waiting. The ship looked like a gray needle compared to the sleek, shining ships of the aliens. It was ugly and practical. It was covered in scratches from asteroids and repairs done in deep space. As they boarded the ship, the crew moved fast. They were all young. Suyi, the tactical officer, was already at her station. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Captain, Suyi said. The station is locking onto us. They are ordering us to power down our engines. Power down. Jay laughed as he sat in the captain's chair. Increase power to maximum. Get us out of here. The engines of the Vanguard roared to life. It was a loud, shaking sound. The alien ships did not make noise, they hummed. The human ship sounded like a beast waking up. They blasted away from the station, pushing the humans back into their seats. Are they following? David asked, standing on the bridge next to Jay. No, Suyi said. They are letting us go. They think we are running home to cry. Let them think that, David said. He pressed a button on his arm. A secret channel opened. It connected him directly to the High Command of Earth. This is David Kim, he said. The meeting is over. They rejected us. Is the war starting? A voice came back from Earth. It was the voice of General Lee, the head of Earth's defense. Yes, David said. But we are not surrendering. Tell the factories to start production again. Tell the scientists to unlock the red files. Tell everyone to get ready. There was a pause on the line. Are you sure, David? Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. We have something they don't, David said. We have desperation. And we have nothing to lose. David looked at the screen on the bridge. He saw a map of the galaxy. The blue dots of the coalition were everywhere, surrounding the single red dot of Earth. It looked impossible. It looked like suicide. But David knew history. He knew that on Earth, the underdogs often won because they had to be smarter. They had to be meaner. They had to fight harder. Sue, David said. Prepare a message. Send it on all channels, unencrypted. I want everyone to hear it. Sue nodded. Ready, sir. David took a breath. He spoke clearly. This is a message to the Galactic Coalition, he said. You judged us. You called us diseased. You gave us a death sentence. We accept your challenge. But do not think this will be easy. You are fighting a species that bleeds, but does not stop. You are fighting the monster you created by your own arrogance. We will see you in the dark. He cut the feed. The Vanguard jumped into faster than light speed. The stars turned into long lines of light. Days passed on the ship. The mood was serious. No one joked, everyone knew that when they got back to Earth, the sky might be on fire. They trained in the hallways. They cleaned their guns. They ate their meals in silence. Mina spent her time in the lab with the alien technology they had managed to buy or steal over the years. She took apart a laser rifle from a coalition soldier. Their tech is clean, Mina said to Jay when he came to visit her. It is efficient. It never jams. It is perfect. That sounds bad for us, Jay said, cleaning his own dirty, mechanical gun. No, Mina said, her eyes lighting up. It is not bad. Because it is perfect, it is fragile. It expects everything to go according to plan. If you change one small thing, it breaks. Look at this. She pointed to a small crystal inside the alien gun. If I hit this with a simple EMP pulse, the whole gun becomes a piece of junk. They rely on their science. We rely on luck and grit. Jay grinned. I prefer grit. Finally, the Vanguard dropped out of light speed near the edge of the solar system. They expected to see Earth. They expected to see their home. Instead, they saw a wall of metal. Thousands of alien ships were floating around the planet Mars. They were blocking the path to Earth. They were beautiful ships, smooth and silver, glowing with blue light. It was the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Jay Park looked at the screen. His face went pale. There are so many, he whispered. Suyi was typing fast. Sensors are picking up more ships coming from behind Jupiter. We are surrounded, Captain. They are moving in to attack Earth. David stood at the front of the bridge. He looked at the massive enemy fleet. Any other species would have surrendered right there. Any other species would have seen that they had no chance. But David looked at the red planet of Mars below the enemy ships. He thought about the dust on Mars. He thought about the dust on Earth. He thought about how humans came from dust. Open the channel to Earth, David said. And open the channel to the rest of the fleet. Our ships are hiding behind the moon, right? Yes, Sue said. Wait, the alien sensors, They aren't picking us up. No, Mina said, smiling. I released the dust as soon as we arrived. It is a cloud of reflective particles. It blinds their sensors. They can't see our fleet hiding in the shadow of the moon. David nodded. It was a trick. A dirty trick. Something the Honorable Coalition would never do. Good, David said. Jay, are you ready to give them a surprise? Jay Park stood up. He put his cap on. I was born ready, sir. This is not a battle for territory, David told the crew. This is a battle for our right to exist. They think we are just animals. Let's show them what happens when you poke the bear. The Vanguard moved forward, joining the other human ships that were coming out from the dark side of the moon. The human ships were blocky, ugly, and heavily armored. They looked like scrap metal compared to the alien fleet. The alien fleet saw the humans. They did not fire immediately. They hesitated. They were confused. Why were these primitive ships attacking? Did they not know they were doomed? On the bridge of the lead alien ship, the commander watched the human ships approach. He did not feel fear. He felt pity. He gave the order to fire the warning shots. He wanted to scare them away. But the human ships did not turn away. They sped up. They are not stopping, the alien commander said. Fire to destroy. It was too late. The humans had already fired first. But they did not fire lasers. They fired big, heavy metal slugs using railguns. The slugs moved fast, faster than light. The silence of space did not last long. It was broken by the sound of destruction, a sound that no one could hear but everyone could feel. The human ships, ugly and blocky, moved forward like a pack of angry dogs. They did not fly in the perfect, smooth lines of the coalition. They moved fast and turned sharp, diving toward the enemy fleet. On the bridge of the Vanguard, the lights flickered. The ship shook as the weapons systems powered up. Jay Park held onto the railing with a grip of iron. He watched the main screen, where the red targets of the alien ships filled the view. Fire, Jay said. His voice was low. The Vanguard shuddered. From its belly, it launched two massive metal slugs. These were not lasers or energy beams. They were simple chunks of metal, accelerated to speeds that defied physics. They were the galaxy's oldest weapon, the rock thrown by a caveman, made modern and deadly. The slugs crossed the distance between the fleets in seconds. They slammed into the side of the nearest coalition cruiser. The alien ship had shields, glowing blue domes of energy that were supposed to stop any attack. But the human slugs were heavy and moving too fast. The shields flared and died instantly. The metal tore through the hull of the ship like a knife through paper. On the alien ship, panic erupted. They had never seen weapons like this. Their ships were built to block energy, not solid matter. The cruiser groaned and split open, spilling air and fire into the vacuum. It was a violent, messy death. Hit confirmed, Suyi shouted from her station. She was typing so fast her hands were a blur. Their shields are down on that ship. The others are turning, but they are slow. Don't let them group up, David Kim said, standing next to Jay. Keep them confused. If they form a line, we lose. Relay that to the fleet, Jay ordered. Chaos, people. Give them chaos. The human fleet did not wait for the aliens to shoot back. They were everywhere. Small, fast human ships flew around the large alien vessels, dropping strange devices into space. Some were mines, others were simple grenades attached to engines. They used the debris of the asteroid belt as cover, popping up to shoot and then disappearing again. High above the battle, floating safely near the command ship of the Coalition, Counselor Vex watched the screens with horror. He saw his beautiful ships being destroyed. He saw the primitive humans winning the first few minutes of the fight. "This is impossible," Vex said to his tactical officer. "Their ships are junk. Their weapons are crude. Why are we losing?" "The humans, they are unpredictable," the alien officer said, his voice shaking. "They are not following the battle algorithms. They are targeting our engines first. They are stranding ships so they cannot run. And they're boarding pods." Vex looked closer at the screen. He saw small, metal tubes flying from the human ships, crashing into the hulls of the Coalition vessels. "Boarding?" Vex asked. "In space no species does that anymore. It is suicide." "Yes," the officer replied. "But the humans are doing it." Inside one of the Coalition battleships, the alarm was screaming. The crew, tall and slender with blue skin, ran through the hallways in fear. The doors were locking automatically to seal off the damaged areas. Suddenly, the floor exploded upward. Through the hole, humans in black heavy armor climbed up. They did not look like the sleek alien soldiers. They looked like walking tanks. They carried guns that made loud, booming noises. J. Park was not on this ship, but the leader of the boarding team, a man named Sergeant Kong, was at the front. He kicked a piece of metal debris out of his way and raised his rifle. An alien guard pointed a laser pistol at him. The alien fired, but the laser bounced harmlessly off Kong's thick armor plate. Kong pulled the trigger. His gun fired a burst of bullets, loud and thundering in the narrow metal hallway. The guard fell. "Move! Move!" Kong yelled. "Don't stop for anything." The humans stormed down the hallway. They did not use the elegant tactics of the Coalition. They threw flashbangs, small grenades that made a blinding light and a deafening noise around corners before they turned. They fired their guns without looking, keeping the aliens' heads down. In the control room of the alien ship, the captain was terrified. He could hear the humans getting closer. His crew was trying to lock the reinforced doors, but the humans were using explosive charges to blow the locks off. "Tell the fleet we are being boarded," the captain screamed into the comms. "Send help." But no help came. The human fleet had launched thousands of these boarding pods. Every Coalition ship was dealing with the same nightmare. The humans were not fighting a ship-to-ship war, they were invading the enemy's homes. Back on the Vanguard, Mina Choi was watching the data stream from the boarding teams. She saw their heart rates. They were high, but steady. The humans were not afraid. They were full of adrenaline. They were doing what they were built to do. "Jay, look at this," Mina said, pointing to a graph. "The alien ships are stopping their attacks to deal with the boarders. They are turning off their main guns to power their internal defenses. It is working." Jay smiled grimly. "They don't know how to fight a knife fight. They only know how to stand back and shoot." "Sue, launch the second wave," David said. "Send the dirty missiles." Sue nodded. She entered the command code. Along the hull of the Vanguard, hatches opened. These missiles were not high-tech. They were simple tubes filled with nuclear waste and jagged metal scrap. They were designed not to explode a ship, but to make it unusable. The missiles flew into the middle of the Coalition formation. They detonated, spreading clouds of radioactive dust and sharp metal shrapnel. The cloud drifted through space, clogging the sensors of the alien ships and jamming their delicate engine intakes. Alien ships began to cough and stall. Their engines, designed for clean space, choked on the dirty dust. They were sitting ducks. "Now," Jay said, leaning forward. "Hit them while they are blind." The human railguns fired again. This time, they hit ships that couldn't move. The damage was terrible. Huge chunks of alien ships broke off, floating silently in the dark. The battle was not a glorious dance of light, it was a slaughter in the mud. David watched the destruction with a heavy heart. He did not enjoy killing. But he remembered the ultimatum. He remembered Vex saying that humanity was a virus that needed to be corrected. "We are not a virus," David whispered to himself. "We are the cure." Suddenly, the vanguard shook violently. Alarms blared on the bridge. "Report!" Jay shouted. "We took a hit to the rear shields." Suya yelled. "A coalition cruiser broke through the dust cloud. It is firing its main laser." On the screen, a large silver ship was charging up a bright blue weapon. It was aiming right at the vanguard. "Evasive maneuvers," Jay ordered. "Turn us left." The helmsman fought with the controls. The vanguard began to turn, but it was a heavy ship. It was not fast enough. The blue beam lashed out. It sliced through the empty space where the vanguard had been a second ago, but it grazed the side of the human ship. Sparks flew on the bridge. Consoles exploded. 2 crew members were thrown from their seats. "Hull breach in Deck 4. Mina shouted. "Shields are at 40%. Hit them back." Jay roared. "Target that engine." The tactical officer locked onto the cruiser. The railgun reloaded with a heavy thud. The slug slammed into the cruiser's engine room. The explosion lit up the dark side of the ship. The alien cruiser spun out of control, crashing into one of its own friends. Both ships burst into flames and died. But the vanguard was hurt. "Status report," Jay asked, wiping blood from a small cut on his forehead. "We can still fight," Sue said. "But our engine is damaged. We can't go as fast." "We don't need to run," David said. He stood up straight. He looked at the tactical map. The coalition fleet was in chaos. They had lost nearly 100 ships. The rest were scattering, trying to get away from the dust clouds and the boarding parties. "Send the signal," David said. "Tell all human ships to press the attack. Drive them back to the edge of the system." The message went out. The human fleet, which had been hiding and sneaking, now roared forward. They chased the retreating aliens. They were pitiless. They did not accept surrender. They had been told to surrender 3 days ago, and now the aliens had to pay the price. Counselor Vex watched from his command ship. His perfect strategy had failed. He had thought this would be a simple police action. He had thought the humans would be easy to control. But he was wrong. "Retreat," Vex said softly. The officer next to him looked shocked. "Counselor, we still have 400 ships. We can regroup. Look at them." Vex shouted, pointing at the screen. "They are not retreating. They are coming for us. They are following us. This is not a war, it is a feeding frenzy. Order all ships to jump to hyperspace. We must leave now." The coalition fleet turned and ran. They opened their warp drives and disappeared into streaks of light, leaving the burning wrecks of their comrades behind. The battle was over. The solar system was quiet again, save for the drifting wreckage. The vanguard floated among the debris. On the bridge, The crew let out a breath they had been holding for hours. "Are they gone?" Jay asked Sue. "Yes," Sue said. "They left the system." "Did we win?" Mina asked. David looked at the screen. He saw the red dot of Earth, safe behind them. He saw the wrecks of the alien ships. "We won the battle," David said. "But the war is just starting." He knew the coalition would be back. They would bring more ships next time. They would be angry. But today, humanity had proved something important. They had proved that the galaxy was not as scary as they thought. The aliens could bleed. The aliens could die. Jay Park walked over to David and put a hand on his shoulder. "You did good, David," Jay said. "You scared them." David looked at his friend. "I didn't scare them, Jay. We angered them. And that is much more dangerous." "Let them be angry," Jay said, looking at the wreckage of the alien cruiser. "Now they know who they are fighting." The Vanguard began to move slowly toward Earth. It needed repairs. The crew needed rest. But their spirits were high. They had fought the most powerful empire in the galaxy and they had survived. They were still alive. As they flew past the moon, David looked down at the gray surface. He thought about the people on Earth. They would be celebrating tonight. They would be looking up at the stars and thinking they were safe. David knew the truth. The coalition would not stop until humanity was destroyed. But humans were stubborn. Humans were hard to kill. "Sue," David said. "Contact High Command, tell them to prepare for a long war. Tell them to start building more boarding pods. Tell them to start making more dirt." "Already done, sir," Sue said with a small smile. David nodded. He sat back in his chair. He was tired, but he could not sleep. He kept seeing the blue light of the alien lasers. He kept hearing the screams over the comms. He had told the council that humanity was a dangerous life form. Today, he had shown them just how dangerous they could be. And the galaxy would never be the same. The humans had woken up, and they were hungry. The victory in the solar system was celebrated loudly on Earth. People danced in the streets and flags waved in the wind. But for the leaders of the war effort, there was no time for dancing. David Kim, Jay Park, and Mina Choi sat in a cold, underground bunker on the moon. The lights here were dim, and the coffee was old. They knew the celebration would be short. The coalition was not defeated, they were just embarrassed. 3 weeks had passed since the battle. The alien fleets had retreated to the edge of the galaxy, but their sensors were still watching. The silence was heavy. David stood in front of a large screen that showed the coalition's movements. "They are not rebuilding their ships," David said, pointing at the red dots. "They are gathering their biological weapons." Mina looked up from her microscope. She had dark circles under her eyes. She had not slept in 2 days. She was studying a sample of alien gas the Vanguard had collected during the fight. "You are right," Mina said. "I analyzed the data from the debris we found. They are preparing to release the dust of extinction. It is a weapon that eats the air of a planet. It is designed to kill us without destroying our buildings." Jay Park slammed his fist on the metal table. "Cowards. They want our cities but they don't want to fight us for them. They want to poison us from space." "We cannot stop the gas with shields," Mina explained calmly. "It goes through energy fields. It enters the atmosphere and settles. Within hours, everyone on Earth would suffocate. They plan to kill the planet and take it later." David walked to the window. He looked out at the gray landscape of the moon. Somewhere above him, the blue earth was spinning. His family was there. His friends were there. Everyone he loved was breathing the air that the coalition planned to steal. How do we stop it? Jay asked. If we can't shield it, we die. We don't stop it with shields, Mina said. She stood up and walked to a large computer screen. We stop it with our bodies. You know how humans have the most diverse DNA in the galaxy. You know how we evolved on a planet full of diseases and viruses. Yes, Jay said. So what? That diversity is our greatest weapon, Mina said, her eyes shining. I have been working with the medical teams on Earth. We can create a counteragent. We can modify the human immune system to resist the dust. It will be painful. The treatment will make people very sick for a few days. But if we do it, the alien gas will not kill us. David turned around. Are you saying we can inoculate the entire planet? Yes, Mina said. But we have to do it before the aliens attack. And they will attack soon. My sensors say the clouds of gas are already moving toward the solar system. Do it, David ordered. Get the distribution ready. Jay, we need to buy Mina some time. If the aliens see us preparing, they will speed up their attack. Jay nodded. What do you want me to do? Fly out there and shoot the gas? No, David said. The gas is carried by slow ships. If we destroy the ships, the gas will just float. But the aliens are arrogant. They rely on command and control. They have a central hub that coordinates the attack. It is a station near the edge of the sector. You want to cut off the head of the snake, Jay said. A small smile appeared on his face. Exactly, David said. But this mission will be different. We are not going to fight their ships. We are going to fight their logic. I have a plan to free their slaves. Suyi, the tactical officer, walked into the room. She held a tablet in her hand. David, I have been listening to the alien communications. They are encrypted, but their labor units, the species they use to work on their ships, are on open channels. They are scared. They hate the coalition. David nodded. The coalition treats other species like tools. They force them to work in dangerous conditions. If we offer them a chance to be free, they might fight with us. Will they trust us? Sue asked. They think we are monsters too. They will trust the enemy of their enemy, David said. Sue, prepare a message. Send it to the labor channels. Tell them that humanity is not here to rule them, but to break their chains. The plan was set. It was a dangerous gamble. Mina would work on Earth to vaccinate the population, a secret operation that had to happen in silence. David and Jay would take the vanguard and a small fleet of fast ships to attack the coalition's logistics hub. Their goal was not just to destroy the hub, but to start a rebellion. 2 days later, the vanguard left the moon. It was quiet again. Jay stood on the bridge, looking at the star map. They were heading into deep space, far from home. Are you sure about this? David Jay asked. If we fail, Earth is open to the gas attack. We cannot just hide behind a shield, David said. The aliens expect us to be defensive. They expect us to be scared of the big scary galaxy. We have to show them that we can reach out and touch them too. The journey took 3 days. The coalition's logistics hub was a giant space station shaped like a spider. It sat in a dark nebula, hidden from sight. Thousands of transport ships moved around it, carrying supplies and weapons. As the human ships arrived, they did not open fire immediately. Instead, Suyi broadcast the message David had written. "This is David Kim of Earth," the voice said in all alien languages. "The coalition uses you. They treat you like dirt. They will sacrifice you without a second thought. Today, you have a choice. Keep serving your masters, or turn your ships against them. Join us, and fight for your freedom." For a moment, nothing happened. The alien hub continued its work. Then, a light on a transport ship flickered. Then another. Suddenly, a transport ship near the Vanguard turned its guns toward the hub. "It's working," Sue said, her voice full of surprise. "They are turning." One by one, the labor ships turned. They were not warships, but they were big and heavy. They began to crash into the station. The coalition guards on the station were confused. They did not know who to shoot at. Their own workers were attacking them. "Now," Jay shouted. "Hit them while they are confused." The Vanguard fired its main railguns. The slugs smashed into the hub's main reactor. The explosion was massive. It lit up the dark nebula like a second sun. Pieces of the station flew off in all directions. But the coalition was not dead yet. From the other side of the nebula, 5 heavy warships appeared. They were the guardians of the hub. They locked their weapons onto the human fleet. "Shields up!" Jay yelled. The lasers hit the Vanguard hard. The ship shook violently. "We are taking heavy damage to the front," Sue shouted. "Keep firing on the hub," Jay ordered. "Don't let them repair it." The battle was fierce. The human ships were outnumbered, but they were not alone. The rebel transport ships were ramming the enemy warships, sacrificing themselves to help the humans. David watched the screen. He saw a transport ship fly straight into the engine of a coalition cruiser. It was a suicide run. The alien crew had chosen death over slavery. It made David sad, but it also made him proud. "They are braver than the coalition thought," David said. Mina was right. The aliens are a hive mind of logic. If you break the chain of command, they don't know what to do. But we are chaotic. We adapt. "We have destroyed the hub," Sue yelled. "The gas carriers are drifting. They have no orders." The coalition warships began to retreat. Their command center was gone, and their own workers were turning against them. It was a total defeat for them in that sector. Jay Park let out a long breath. "Good. Let's go home." But David was worried. He knew that even though they had stopped the gas here, the main coalition fleet would eventually come for them. He had bought time for Mina, but the price was going up. "Let's go home," David said. "We have a lot of work to do." As the Vanguard turned back toward Earth, David looked at the wreckage of the battle. He saw the debris of the alien ships mixing with the debris of the rebel transport ships. It was a mess. The galaxy was waking up to the reality of humanity. They were not just a small planet to be bullied. They were a force of nature. They had allies now. They had a plan. But the war was far from over. The real fight was just beginning. The war did not stay in the solar system. It spread like a fire in a dry field. After the attack on the logistics hub, the galaxy was in chaos. The coalition tried to hide the news, but the rebel workers told everyone. They told the other enslaved species that the humans had fought back and won. They said the mighty High Counselor Vex could be hurt. David Kim stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, looking at a star map that was changing color every hour. Red dots, representing human and rebel forces, were appearing everywhere. The blue dots of the coalition were disappearing. It was not a war of big battles anymore. It was 100 small fights happening at the same time. It is working better than we thought, Suyi said. She was tired, but she smiled as she looked at her screen. The planets that the coalition used for mining are refusing to send resources. They are fighting the governors. They are using our tactics, J. Park said, leaning against the wall. He cleaned his fingernails with a knife, looking calm. Guerrilla warfare. Hit them, run, hide, and hit again. The coalition doesn't know how to fight an enemy that is everywhere. David nodded, but he felt a heavy weight in his chest. We are giving them freedom, but we are also giving them a lot of death. The coalition will not go quietly. They will burn those planets before they let them go. Just then, the communication channel buzzed. It was Mina Choi from Earth. David, Mina said. Her voice sounded urgent. We have a problem. Tell me, David said. We have been analyzing the wreckage from the battle near the nebula. The coalition is changing. They are building a new type of ship. It does not have a crew. It is controlled by a computer. It is a machine designed only to kill. David looked at Jay. Drones. Yes, Mina said. And they are faster than anything we have. They don't need to sleep. They don't need to eat. And they don't feel fear. If they launch these against us, our numbers won't matter. We cannot outrun a computer. David knew this was the answer of the coalition. They could not beat the chaos of humans, so they would become machines themselves. Cold, hard, and logical. Where are they building them? David asked. A shipyard near the center of their territory, Mina answered. It is their oldest base. It is very well guarded. But if you destroy that shipyard, you destroy their ability to make the drone fleet. David looked at the star map. The shipyard was deep in enemy space. It would take weeks to get there, and the path was full of enemies. We have to go, Jay said. If we wait for them to build those drones, Earth will be defenseless. I know, David said. But we cannot take the vanguard alone. We need an army. You have one, a new voice came over the speaker. It was a deep, rough voice. It belonged to a rebel leader named Krax. He was a four-armed alien who had once been a slave miner. Krax, David said. Are you with us? We are all with you, Krax said. The humans showed us that we can bite the hand that hits us. We have 500 ships. We are ready to follow you. David took a deep breath. This was it. He was no longer just fighting for Earth. He was leading a galactic uprising. All right, David said. Sue, set a course for the coalition shipyard. Tell the rebel fleet to meet us there. We end this today. The journey to the center of the galaxy was long and hard. The Vanguard flew through asteroid fields and past dying stars. The rebel ships were not as good as the human ships. Some broke down. Some had to turn back. But the ones that stayed were determined. They had nothing to lose. When they finally arrived, the shipyard was a terrifying sight. It was a massive metal structure floating in the dark of space. It was bigger than a planet. Thousands of small lights flashed on its surface as drones were being built every minute. Surrounding the shipyard was a wall of coalition warships. It was the largest fleet ever gathered. It looks impossible, Suyi whispered. Nothing is impossible, J. Park said. He walked to the weapon control station. We just need to hit them where it hurts. The battle began. The rebel fleet charged forward. It was a messy attack, just like the coalition expected. The coalition ships moved to destroy the rebels, leaving a gap in their defenses near the shipyard. "Now!" David shouted. The vanguard goes through the gap. The human ship sped up. It flew through the enemy line, taking heavy fire. The shields held, but just barely. They were aiming straight for the main reactor of the shipyard. "Steady," Jay said, steering the ship with skill. Suddenly, a new wave of ships came out from the shipyard. They were the drones. They were small, sleek, and silver. They moved with a speed that made them look like blurs of light. "They are too fast," Sue yelled. "I can't lock onto them." The drones swarmed around the vanguard. They fired lasers that cut through the human ship's outer armor. Alarms blared on the bridge. Sparks showered down from the ceiling. "Evasive action," David ordered. "Mina, I need an idea." Mina's voice came over the comms from Earth. "David, listen to me. The drones are controlled by a central computer inside the shipyard. They are perfect, so they are predictable. They calculate the best path to hit you." So Jay asked. "So be unpredictable," Mina said. "Do something the computer would think is stupid. Fly straight at the drone swarm. Don't dodge." Jay looked at David. "She wants us to die." "It might work," David said. "Jay, fly us right at them. Full speed. Don't turn." Jay grinned. He grabbed the controls. "Hold on to something." The vanguard stopped turning. It flew straight ahead, heading directly into the center of the drone swarm. The drones were confused for a split second. Their computers calculated that the human ship would dodge. Since it didn't, their aim was off. The vanguard smashed through the swarm of drones, knocking them out of the way with its thick hull. The ship shook violently, pieces of metal flying off, but it kept going. "Fire!" David yelled. The vanguard launched all of its remaining missiles. They flew into the open hangar doors of the shipyard. They hit the central computer core. The explosion was blinding. The entire shipyard shook. The drones flying in space suddenly stopped. Without the computer telling them what to do, they froze. Their lights went out. "You did it!" Sue shouted. "The drones are dead." With the drones gone, the rebel fleet saw their chance. They attacked the remaining coalition ships with everything they had. The coalition commanders, seeing their new weapon destroyed and their shipyard burning, lost their will to fight. They began to retreat. High Counselor Vex watched from his distant command ship. He saw the destruction of the shipyard. He saw the humans and the rebels winning. He realized that he had awakened a force he could not control. "We are leaving," Vex ordered his captain. "We must return to the home worlds." The battle was over. The vanguard floated in the debris of the shipyard. It was heavily damaged, smoke rising from its hull. But it was still there. David sat in the captain's chair, exhausted. He looked at Jay and Sue. They were bleeding and bruised, but they were alive. "We won," Jay said, sounding surprised. "We won the battle," David said. "But the war is not over until we face Vex himself." He looked out at the stars. The coalition was running, but they still had power. Humanity had proven they could fight, but now they had to prove they could win. The galaxy was watching, and for the first time in history, they were afraid of the humans. The final days of the war arrived not with a whisper, but with a heavy silence. The coalition was running out of ships. They were running out of resources. But they were not running out of pride. High Counselor Vex had gathered the last of his grand armada around the Citadel station. This was the heart of their power, the place where the galactic laws were written. Vex believed that if he could hold the station, he could still win. He believed that logic and order would eventually crush the human chaos. David Kim stood on the bridge of the Vanguard. The ship was patched up with metal plates from destroyed enemy vessels. It looked ugly, scarred, and dangerous. It looked like its crew. Through the main window, David could see the Citadel station. It was a beautiful sphere of silver and glass, floating above a blue planet. Surrounding it were thousands of alien ships. They formed a perfect wall. "It is a fortress," J. Park said, checking his heavy rifle. He stood next to David, wearing his combat armor. "They are waiting for us. They think we will tired ourselves out hitting their shields." "They are right to worry," Suyi said from her station. "Our fleet is small. The rebel ships are tired. We do not have the firepower to break that wall." David nodded. He walked to the front of the bridge. "We do not need to break the wall with guns. We will break it with the truth. Sue, open a channel. I want to speak to Vex. Direct link to the Citadel." The screen flickered and changed. The face of High Counselor Vex appeared. He looked older now. His gray skin was pale, and his eyes were tired. But he still looked down at the humans with disgust. "Human," Vex said. "You have caused a lot of trouble. But it ends here. You are outnumbered. You are out of energy. Surrender now, and we will let your people live as servants. It is the most logical choice." David adjusted his glasses. He did not look angry. He looked calm. "Vex, look behind you. Look at your ships. Look at the ships of the rebels that are following me." Vex looked away for a moment. He saw the mix of ships, human, rebel, and alien from 100 different worlds. They were flying together. "You have gathered the scum of the galaxy," Vex spat. "They are weak. They are unorganized. They are free," David said. "And that is why they fight harder than your soldiers. Your soldiers fight because they are told to. Our soldiers fight because they choose to. We are not here to surrender, Vex. We are here to change the galaxy." "You are just a violent species," Vex said. "You bring only death." "We bring life," David corrected him. "You kept the galaxy frozen in time. You stopped progress. You controlled everyone. We woke everyone up. Today, the coalition falls. Not because we are stronger, but because the galaxy does not want you anymore." Vex's face twitched. "Fire," he whispered to his officers. The wall of alien ships began to glow. They were preparing to fire every weapon they had. Now," David said. "Missiles away," Jay said calmly. The Vanguard did not fire lasers or railguns. It launched hundreds of small, black canisters. They drifted toward the Citadel station. The coalition defenses shot many of them down, but too many got through. They attached themselves to the hull of the station. "Detonating," Sue said. The canisters exploded. But there was no fire. There was no destruction. Instead, they released a massive electromagnetic pulse, a wave of energy that killed all electronics within a certain range. On the bridge of the Vanguard, the lights dimmed for a second, then came back up because the ship was shielded. But outside, the galaxy went dark. The Citadel station lost its lights. The force field protecting it vanished. The ships of the coalition, which relied heavily on their central computer systems to aim and move, suddenly stopped working. They drifted in the dark, their controls dead. They are blind. Sue shouted. The pulse worked. Now the rebels, David said. Behind the human fleet, thousands of rebel ships appeared from the darkness of space. They had old engines that did not rely on the coalition's computers. They surged forward, attacking the defenseless enemy ships. It was not a fair fight, but then again, the coalition had never fought fair. On the Citadel station, alarms were blaring, but no one could hear them over the sound of screaming. Vex watched his screens go black. How? Vex gasped. How did they do this? Simple science, Mina Choi's voice came over the loudspeakers of the station. She had hacked their comms. You rely too much on technology. You forgot that sometimes, a simple switch is enough to turn off the lights. The Vanguard flew through the chaos. It ignored the battle outside and headed straight for the main docking bay of the Citadel. J. Park piloted the ship manually, steering it with skill. Brace for impact. Jay yelled. The Vanguard crashed through the glass roof of the docking bay and landed hard on the metal floor. Sparks flew everywhere. The ramp lowered, and J. Park led a team of human Marines out. They ran into the station, shooting the guards who were running around in panic. David followed them. He did not carry a gun. He just walked with purpose. They fought their way to the council chamber. The doors were locked. Jay placed an explosive charge on the lock. Fire in the hole! He yelled. The explosion blew the doors open. Inside, the High Council was in chaos. Alien leaders were arguing and pushing each other. But when the humans entered, the room went silent. They saw the human soldiers, dirty and bloody, holding their weapons. They saw David Kim walking in. High Counselor Vex stood at his podium. He looked small and frail. Get out of my station, Vex hissed. We are not leaving, David said. He walked up the steps to stand in front of Vex. He looked out at the hundreds of alien council members. Listen to me. The war is over. Your fleets are defeated. Your ships are dead. The coalition is finished. The aliens began to murmur. We will not surrender to animals, one of them said. David turned to the speaker. I am not asking you to surrender. I am telling you that you are free. The coalition is dissolved. Every planet you control is now independent. You will go back to your homes and rule yourselves. But know this, Earth is now the guardian of this galaxy. If you try to enslave another species, if you try to build another empire, we will come back. And next time, we won't stop. Vex looked at David with hate. You have destroyed order. You have doomed us to chaos. No, David said softly. We have given you a choice. You can have order built on fear, which is what you had. Or you can have peace built on respect. The choice is yours. Vex slumped down. He knew it was over. He had no ships. He no army. The humans had one. 2 weeks later, a new treaty was signed. It was not signed on the Citadel station, but on Earth. The sky was blue, and the air was clean. Leaders from 100 different worlds came to the human planet. They were not there to surrender, they were there to acknowledge the new reality. David Kim stood on a balcony overlooking the United Nations building. He was tired of war. He wanted to rest. J. Park stood next to him, wearing a clean uniform for a change. Mina Choi was on his other side, looking at the crowd below. Do you think they will stay peaceful? Jay asked. The aliens, I mean. They are afraid of us, David said. And fear is a good way to keep the peace for a while. But eventually, they will see that we are not monsters. They will see that we just want to live. It is strange, Mina said. We went from being the weakest species to the most dangerous in just a few months. We were always dangerous, David said. We just didn't have a reason to show it. The crowds below cheered. They cheered for the soldiers, for the scientists, for the survival of humanity. But David knew the truth. The galaxy had tried to kill the most dangerous life form, and in doing so, they had made it stronger. Humanity was awake now. They had traveled to the stars, fought an empire, and won. They were no longer just a small blue planet on the edge of space. They were a power. And under the watchful eye of David Kim and his friends, the galaxy would never be the same again. Come on, David said, turning away from the balcony. I need a coffee. A very large one. Jay and Mina laughed. They walked with him into the building, leaving the war behind them. The stars were shining above, bright and full of possibilities. The human race was finally home, and they were here to stay. WW